Hi, Alex.
How we doing, guys?
We are doing well, and I'm looking at your mock draft here, and it's the reason I like it is it is now unlike any other mock draft that I've seen, and that's what you want. You want it to be. I often say this. You want it to be interesting. You want it to be a topic of conversation, and yours certainly is. So let's get cooking now. You, of course, have the only certainty in the draft is that Cam Ward is going number one. You have Titans keeping that pick. Now is when things get interesting. It has been widely reported that the Browns, in fact, Kevin Stefanski was at Jackson Dart's Pro Day while his team was at the Colorado with Jimmy Haslam was at with Abdul Carter at that time, having dinner with Abdul Carter in Penn at Penn State.
Yep.
And so that to a lot of people meant that they had no interest in Shadur Sanders. They have made, of course, the two signings with Winston and Russell, but you have the Browns taking Shadur Sanders at number 2.
Yeah, so I did this last week coming away from the Colorado Pro Day, and my thought at the time, and I write a little bit more about it in there, was the contingency that they sent to Colorado to me, as good as Travis Hunter is, he's a really good player, is the owner traveling for a wide receiver. Now, I know he, since I wrote this, went and met with Abdul Carter, but it was a lot more reminiscent of, and Robert Kraft didn't go, but it was a lot more reminiscent of the group the Patriots sent to LSU and UNC and some of these other top quarterbacks last year than really anything else we've seen. Now, maybe the Browns think they can get Shadur somewhere else. The GM of the Browns was quoted as saying, "Can I have them both?" Talking about Shadur Sanders and Travis Hunter. And maybe they think Sanders is going to fall and they can trade up into the teens and get him, something like that. But the idea was, as good as Travis Hunter is, the contingency they sent to Colorado, I don't think you send that contingency for a wide receiver or a cornerback. You send that contingency if you're thinking about drafting the quarterback. Now, maybe they went and they all met with him and they said, well, this isn't our guy. And that's why you get some of the reporting you've had since. But I think they're at least seriously considering Sanders if they're going to send that whole group out there to Boulder.
Okay, since you said you did this a week ago, do you still think that Shadur Sanders is going number 2?
I think it's less likely that I did when I put that together, but I think people are to entirely rule it out as short-sighted.
And none of this has to do with the fact that you really want them to take Shadur Sanders?
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't.
Okay.
Well, Barth, I would say this. If they don't take Shadur Sanders, what would be their plan in Cleveland? This is what I've thought about this, and maybe a non-Patriots way of thinking about it. But from a Browns perspective, what do they do?
So I wonder if they really like Jalen Milroe. And Jalen Milroe started to pick up some steam here the last few days. Tommy Rees, who they promoted him from within, but he's their new offensive coordinator. He was Milroe's OC at Alabama in 2023 when Milroe had his best year. So they have that connection. I wonder if they look at getting Milroe in the second round.
Okay.
I'm also not ruling out. And again, the GM kind of joked about it, but this is the time of year where we dissect every little thing that's said. They take Hunter at 2. Let's say Sanders really falls, right? The Saints don't take him at 9. If they don't take him at 9, there's no quarterback team really, unless you believe some Miami Dolphins stuff, until the Steelers at 21. Can the Browns move up from 34 to like 17 or 18 and get Sanders? And now you have the 2 Colorado guys?
All right, so
what about that?
Yeah, with the kid from Alabama, now people are saying this. They're saying Jalen Hurts was undeveloped in terms of his decision making. Josh Allen was undeveloped in terms of his decision making. That Teddy Bridgewater was undeveloped in terms of his decision making when they came out. They were just, especially in the latter 2, just freak athletes.
Yeah,
which Monroe obviously is. So now people are starting to talk themselves into him being a possible second round, maybe high second round pick. Who knows? But you don't think do you think there's any way Jackson Dart is taken ahead of Shadur Sanders?
I'd be surprised. I don't even think Jackson Dart's the third best quarterback in this draft. To me, it's between Milroe and Will Howard.
Yeah.
I'm not super impressed by Jackson Dart.
Now, who did you think was the best quarterback in the last draft?
Caleb Williams.
And then who?
I had Caleb Williams, Daniels, May, Penix, McCarthy, Nix.
Okay.
Was my order.
All right. And then you have the Giants taking Travis Hunter. Obviously, that's if they had their choice of Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter, you figured they would take Travis Hunter because they're already pretty loaded at the end position. Exactly. And then you have Abdul Carter falling to the Patriots, which would be the dream scenario for the Patriots. This would be as good as the draft could land for them, correct?
Well, internally, you hear some reporting that maybe he's not their type of guy as much, but in terms of picking at 4 and having the best player there, I think that's how it would have to happen. I think those 3 picks at the top would have to go the way they go, because I think if the Browns are not taking I think that's how those picks have to go at the top. So this is the only way I think they get the best player in the draft.
Do you still think that they'll get Abdul Carter at 4? Not that if he's available they'll take him, because they will. And the Giants would not. I think with Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter on the board, they would definitely take Travis Hunter. And we had Burden. He was talking about Abdul Carter being like his own guy and kind of like a different dude and everything else.
And Giants just spent all of that for pass rushers.
No. But that's I had moved on to the Patriots, not like wanting that kind of guy. But So this is the dream scenario. This is what the Patriots would want to have happen. And
because at the very least, if they don't like Carter, most talented player falls to 4, you now have a lot better chance of trading down, even if you don't love him. At the very least, now you're actually going to get something for that pick.
Mm-hmm. And you have Jacksonville being able to make a trade with the Cowboys for Genty out of Boise State, the incredible running back. So you do have a trade going up into the first round.
Yeah, and that's a little different because those top 4 are all gone. So now it's all players on different standings. So the trades are going to cost a little less. I also couldn't you see the Jaguars the Cowboys giving up too much to draft Aston Genty?
I've seen them do
a
it.
Jerry Jones thing to do.
Yeah, I mean they were the beneficiary of someone giving up their whole draft, or not their whole draft with the Herschel Walker trade.
Yeah, it was like the whole draft.
Yeah, it was like a whole draft. They had been the beneficiary of it, so why not do it themselves? Because a lot of people think Genty is that you could add him as an elite talent in this draft. Like that, there's 3. It's just that Genty plays running back, that is not considered anymore to be a premier position. There are people that think Genty is like. The comps on him are all pro running backs. I mean, like he is obviously, you would agree, skilled enough. He has the tape, the size, the speed, all of that, the cutting ability, all of that to be an elite NFL running back, correct?
Yeah, the only concern really with Genty is he had 750 touches over the last 3 years in college. That would rank 5th in the NFL during that span. Like he's run the ball a lot. He's been hit a lot. There's a lot of mileage there. That's
Le'Veon
really
Bell, though.
Concern.
I've never seen anyone touch a football more than Le'Veon Bell when he was at Michigan State. And they eked out some good years out of him in Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know?
Yeah, I mean, seriously, what? He was averaging like 30 carries a game in his senior year.
Yeah, like nuts. John didn't know about it, as well. So John actually, during a show one time, looked up how much Le'Veon Bell carried the ball.
I was amazed.
And he was like, Jesus Christ, did that guy carry the ball. All right. So you have Ted McMillan going to the Raiders, and then we'll start just getting to like the more interesting stuff. Sure. Ted McMillan going to the Raiders. He is a very polarizing player. People think he's a little laissez-faire. People think he's slow. What do you like about Ted McMillan? What don't you like?
So just about him as a player in the draft, the way I do this is I run through it a couple times and try different things and see what picks I like. And when I didn't have Ted McMillan going here, he was falling into the teens. Mm-hmm. I think for the Raiders in particular, he's a good fit for the way Geno Smith plays. He's got a big catch radius. He can make plays over the middle of the field. Like stylistically, that's a fit. I love the ball skills. The guy, even if he doesn't separate, is always sort of open. At least that was the case in college. He's a guy you can throw open relatively easily. he's an interesting player because in the modern NFL, the wide receiver position is all about athleticism. Teams would rather take a great athlete and teach him how to play receiver rather than take a guy that's incredibly technically skilled and just make do with what he is. And so McMillan's the antithesis of everything teams want at the wide receiver position right now. It doesn't mean he's bad, but it's a real zag while everybody zigs, right? So he's a fascinating player to me. But I think for how developed he is at this point, at his age, especially in this draft, he should probably go higher than he's projected right now because he is more, I think, NFL ready than a lot of guys in this draft.
And then you have Will Campbell being the second offensive lineman taken. You have him going 9 to the Dolphins trading up to get him at 9. Is that based on your read on the offensive line? Do you think he's the second best offensive lineman? Do you think he can play left tackle? What is your read on Will Campbell, who could very well be the Patriots pick?
Yeah, I think he's the best pure lineman. I think he can play left tackle. The reason I have him going second, I'm giving the Jets credit here. They need a right tackle, flat out. Like, they're good on the left side. They took a guy last year. They need a right tackle. Armand Membu is a true right tackle. That just makes more sense. Maybe I'm giving the Jets too much credit, but I still think Campbell's the best lineman in the draft. Yeah, I almost had them taking Campbell and moving him because that doesn't make a lot of sense, and it's the Jets.
Yeah, well, listen, that certainly plays out. You could make that argument happening.
I mean, it only takes a few spots to, and again, this is just a theory, though, but to really flip the script on Will Campbell from not really being worth it at 4 to a team willing to trade up to 9 in order to get him. I don't know if I fully buy that, Barth, but it does. So go ahead.
Some of this is like, some of the way I do this is reacting to news. And this was right after Teron Armstead officially retired. So the idea, like, I think the Dolphins now, if you look at who they have left on the offensive line, because they lost some free agents, Teron Armstead retired, they're pretty barren there. And there's a bunch of tackle teams right before them. The Niners look like a tackle team. The Bears could be. So the idea is, I think the tackles kind of fell as a whole the way I did it. But it's the Dolphins getting above some of those other teams that might need a tackle because they desperately need offensive line play.
And it does make sense, as you point out, that for a lefty quarterback, having someone who you have questions about at left tackle, all right, you don't have to worry as much as they would in Miami.
All right.
Unless, of course, what's his name? Forget the Dolphins quarterback. Tua. He gets concussed in week 2, and then he's not playing.
They're playing with fire there. Yeah. All right, listen, Alex Barth has got a whole bunch of draft coverage up there. He has it all up at 985thesportshub.com. Alex, thank you so much for the time, sir.
If you like that clip, and how could you not? Check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. Point slightly up and to the left. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. Point slightly down and to the left. And for the latest from the Sports Hub, download at 985thesportshub.com.